What are we going to talk about today? Hey legends, this is I Am Manifestation. I'm your conscious manifestation coach, Cerise, and I help you get out of your own way so you can manifest your version of an awesome fucking life. In today's video, I'm going to talk about narcissists and why you don't need to get rid of them. You just need to be the version of you that a narcissist wouldn't even dare to fuck with. So here's the thing, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to keep this on short and concise because it is very simple, but I can totally understand why when you're in it, it's hard to see things from this perspective because, believe it or not, as with a lot of things I teach, I've been there. So the fact of the matter is a narcissist is not even going to come anywhere near someone or fuck with someone or be narcissistic towards someone who doesn't take shit from anyone, doesn't need to be liked by everyone, or that specific person. And I didn't mean specific person, but that particular person, whoever they are, because in my instance, the narcissist was not a romantic connection. It was someone who was bitter that they couldn't get in my pants. And a narcissist always has to have a source of narcissistic supply, right? So when you become the version of you that a narcissist can't fuck with, they can't affect because you won't take the shit, although not taking the shit needs to come from a cool, calm, collected place, a place of like, I have 0 fucks left to give. You've chipped away at every fuck I had to give, and I have none left, kind of thing. Or, become the version of you who no longer ever gets targeted by a narcissist because you've built your self-confidence, your self-worth, your self-concept about yourself is more positive and you're actually acting in line with that. Which, if you've been doing self-concept for months and months and you don't find that you naturally take different action to the way you would have in the past that led to you not being able to have the thing you want or hold on to the thing you want once you get it, then that's when you should really start taking seriously my other cheat codes of nervous system regulation and feel good things if you don't already. So circumstances don't matter in this instance, in the fact of once you become the version of you that they realize they can't control or affect or get a rise out of anymore, and they can't have access to anymore, then they're going to find narcissistic supply elsewhere. And that is how your experience changes. You stop experiencing them as the narcissist, either because you don't interact with them at all anymore, or you do, but they just know there's no point in me using this person as my narcissistic supply, this person to try and make myself feel better about myself or whatever the motivation is. So I need to find that elsewhere. And they will shift their focus from being narcissistic towards you, whether that's picking on you in a, for me, this is how it presented. Making little comments here and there that in the moment, being a pretty laid back person, like I didn't think much of, but also like if I'd said to anyone else that they'd said it, it would seem like as an isolated incident, not a big deal, but it was constant over a long period of time. Not only that, but there was an example of when I was getting along with someone like really well after a social situation that person was involved in, and they were sitting on the opposite side of that person and they didn't like that I was getting along with that person. So they asked them to help them get some beers from the bar. And 2 minutes later, that person that I was getting along with came back treating me completely differently. Like cold shoulder, short. It was absolutely humiliating. And this is what shits me about law of assumption and self-concept, right? Me, prior to understanding the law of assumption, would not have tolerated that. Me, who had discovered law of assumption, was being told that I should just leave it and stay on top of my thoughts. And I was trying to get this narcissist to like me. I was being nice to them. I was allowing these things because, and it's kind of embarrassing to say because I didn't always used to be that person. I used to be the person that didn't give a shit, that stuck up for myself. And I always had friends that said, like, I thought you were a bitch when I first met you, but now I really respect you. I like that you're honest because I always know where I stand with you, even if it's not what they want to hear in the moment, right? I've like had family members who say, I love that you're like, you just say it like it is and you don't care. People might find it a little bit abrupt initially because they're not used to it, because they're used to maybe fake niceties or feeling like they have to be nice themselves to other people. for whatever reason, upbringing, culture, religion, trauma, that initially they might take it, which is why I say when you create boundaries, you have to be okay with the initial response and know that it's going to be okay, but do it from a cool, calm, collected place, a place of self-respect. They may initially be like, oh, fuck. But then they'll be like, well, at least I know where I stand with this person. They'll appreciate the truth. They'll appreciate that you stuck up for yourself, that you respect yourself. So I would have, prior to learning about the law of assumption and understanding conscious manifestation, stood up for myself. And I honestly think that it would have moved me closer to my manifestation at that time had I done that. But I didn't. How else did it show up for me? A lot of like people that were super nice to me when I first met them told me that they felt really welcome when they sort of were introduced to the group and blah, 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 that they felt like welcomed, accepted. We'd get along. I'm very much someone who likes to like lift people up and cheer people on and point out the things that they're doing well, because psychologically, people will focus more on the things that they get praise for and automatically do less of the things that you don't like, because they're focusing more on wanting to get more of that praise for the things they do well. When you point out constantly to people, whether it's friendship-wise on the social team, which is my example, in a romantic relationship, more of the things that you appreciate them doing, even if they're small things, they will naturally do more of those things. You are positively reinforcing good behavior. Remember, we are animals, right? Humans are animals. If a dog pissed on the carpet, would you give it a treat? No. So don't reward bad behavior, okay? And reinforce good behavior, the kind of behavior that you would like to continue experiencing with people. This is not manipulation, right? Because if it comes from a place of manipulation, trying to get what you want, as opposed to just, like I said, I cheer people on because in a team situation, for example, playing touch, for those who know, I played, I'm taking a break at the moment, but usually play touch, standard touch and touch rugby. It's a football sport for those who don't know. I don't point out the things that, like the fumbles. In fact, I tell people not to worry about them. Don't keep, like I always say to them, don't keep apologizing. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Because when I know for myself, when I focus on the things that I wish I'd done better or worry that I'm going to do those things again, I do them still. Why? Because it's then in the forefront of my mind. So that is why we talk about in conscious manifestation, focusing on the things that you want to experience more of and less of the things you don't want to experience more of. There's definitely, in my opinion, a quantum physics aspect to it. And, you know, other things going on that we don't understand. But from a psychological perspective, that explains that sort of everyone is you pushed out, where your focus goes, energy flows kind of thing in conscious manifestation. And I would see with this person that people who were really nice to me when they were new to the team or when I was new to a team would change how they were towards me as they got closer to that person. And I almost feel like that person got close to them for the sole purpose of turning them against me. See that how you will as law of assumption followers. I'm not as hardcore as the straight up law. I say I'm integrative law of assumption. Why? Because I learned the hard way that just focusing on thoughts actually, for me, burnt me out, made me unwell physically and mentally for a while. And I'm still kind of in the process of undoing that, ignoring the cues from my body to stay away and do things different and blah, blah, blah. The things that I would have done prior to learning the law of assumption, having respect for myself, etc. But also where I used to kind of get really pissed off at the law of attraction, because that's where the information was more readily available for conscious manifestation, talking so much about feelings and things like that. I actually understand law of attraction now that I understand law of assumption. They're both just manuals for the same thing in different wording, explaining things in a different way, because everyone's different, right? Different brains absorb information different ways. So I'm not like hardcore strict law of assumption, just the thoughts. I teach my cheat codes here because I don't want you to hit the walls that I hit and get and essentially have more work to do in terms of undoing some damage that could have been avoided in the first place. So there were all these things happening. It was a lot of behind the scenes shit, because I would have gone to a point way sooner of like at least even reacting from an out of whack nervous system where I would have just lost my shit at him, which I would have been okay with, honestly. Had he not been doing everything behind the scenes. If he'd had the balls to say something like to my face, I would have put him in his place at some point. Like I wouldn't have let it go as long as I did. But it was all behind the scenes. It was all getting in people's ears, smear campaign, flying monkeys, people who are familiar with narcissism terminology. Yeah, and then it just got to the point where my anxiety was so high and so constant in my life, not just around this particular activity that I was doing, but it was constant. And leading up to every game, I was like anxious about like who that I wouldn't expect would be cold towards me out of nowhere. And it felt like almost like new people every week. Now, yes, in a way, I manifested that. I kept going. I didn't stand up for myself. You know, I didn't work on self-concept in the way that I now teach it, which is you treat yourself how you want others to treat you. I just focused on the I am affirmations that most law of assumption teachers will talk about because that's what I learned from them. Okay. And those things served me to a certain degree, but then the anxiety crept up very gradually, especially with the way that I was, this person was kind of going about things, bullying, being a narcissist, a covert narcissist. And then the thoughts were not enough to counteract or reprogram the feelings. That's why I do both at the same time now, because my nervous system was just gradually getting more and more out of whack. And I was ignoring when I didn't notice when I was anxious because I was just anxious all the time. So when you're already in a heightened state, you don't notice the anxiety come up. You're already there constantly. It feels like your new normal. It's like being a functioning alcoholic or someone who eats shit food all the time. Okay. I've never been a functioning alcoholic, but I have eaten shit food before for a long period of time and not realize how much better I could feel when I eat well until I've taken the steps to do that. Right. And I've mentioned in other videos, I've had friends who are self-professed functioning alcoholics. Okay. That's why I use the example. Alcoholism is nothing to laugh at. It's just an example for the sake of explaining. So what happened when I finally with this particular situation, I got burnt out before I did anything. I was hoping for this like moment where this person would slip up in front of me and in front of others so that I could call them out and put them in their place and make clear, because there was no point in me telling people like he's doing this thing as someone who everyone else sees as the nice guy, which is very common in covert narcissism. No one, like, I just didn't think anyone would believe me. I didn't think there was any point in saying it. And why I wanted everyone to like me was because I thought that that would affect my manifestation subconsciously. But that's not the case. Nobody can affect whether or not you can have your manifestation. So I stayed around and I put up with it until I got burnt out. And then I did some nervous system regulation work. And there were times where he said things that I normally would have let go because in the moment they seemed like as isolated events, not a big deal, but it was constant. The other thing he used to do as well was when I would do something well, like score or try, for example, which I always cheer people on for, always, especially the girls, because when I first started playing, we never even got given the ball in the mixed team. We were just there to technically make it a mixed team. And I was like, hey, we're not going to get better with the ball unless you like pass it to us and let us try some shit. Sure enough, the girls started scoring tries. And I used to make a big deal out of it because I wanted to make a point to the guys, see, we can do shit. And in one of the leagues, a girl's try is worth 2 points when the guys' tries were worth 1 point. So it was beneficial for us to learn, for the team to win, right? So when the girls would score tries, I'd be like, yeah, fucking girl tries, even if I didn't score a try that day. And there were times where I did and other girls did too. And I'd be like, yeah, like I'm just a bit of a dickhead. I'm like, go the ovaries or like whatever, and high five the girls. And he would go out of his way. Like there was one time where a girl scored an individual try. I scored a try that had been passed around a couple of times first and then given to me, and I scored a try. That was the most girls' tries we'd had at that point. And he goes, yeah, but hers was an individual try. Yours was a team try. And he would do things like that all the time to just like take things away from me, but then go out of his way to like cheer on the other girls that scored tries. It was always to try to make me feel like I wasn't that special. But the time that I was waiting for to be able to put him in his place and essentially make a comment that implies what his actual issue is with me and why he's gone out of his way to say all the shit about me to other people. And there were people who like have no reason to dislike me who just switched on me out of nowhere. It was just getting really toxic. So I eventually got burnt out. It's embarrassing to tell this story because, again, it's not who I used to be. And I ignored my gut instincts. And that's why it's important to do your nervous system regulation so you can start to differentiate between true fear and your body trying to steer you away from the things that are not in line with your manifestation. So I got burnt out. I got, for a few years, starting from when I started playing, I started having issues that were created by stress, like my gut out of whack, which affected my skin. I wasn't just getting like acne looking rashes, which are definitely rashes because I've had hormonal acne before as someone who's reversed my PCOS symptoms, skin reactions to things that I've never had issues with before, food intolerances that I'm in the process of reversing. My lips blew up one night. Like I woke up and the bottom of my lips started swelling in the afternoon. And I sent a video to my mom going, does that look a bit bigger to you? Like it was very like a small difference. She was like, oh, you probably just scratched it or something. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And then I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Sorry, WTMI. But I was like sitting on the toilet and I was just going, my lips feel weird. So I turned the light on and I don't know if you've seen the episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians where Kris Jenner's lips blow up when they went on a holiday. It wasn't quite that severe, but it was pretty, like it looked like a bad lip job. Okay. So that was my body trying to stop me from like going to this place that was having this negative effect on me. And so eventually I got burnt out. I just didn't have the gas. I had been forcing myself to play even though my legs felt like lead because I was so fatigued for a long time. When you get to the point of burnout, often the anxiety then turns into, I don't like to throw the D word around too lightly, and it only lasted a few months. So I don't want to say I was depressed, but I was very low mentally for a few months. And yeah, I started doing my nervous system regulation work. I started filling my time with things that brought me joy, which sounds cheesy, but it's important. I had put so much into playing touch at least twice a week that and sometimes up to 6-7 games a week as well, which is additional stress if you've already got an out of whack nervous system and you're in fight or flight for a long period of time. It's an additional stress that will exacerbate other symptoms that you get, which I definitely found for me. And I also want to add the reason why I had put so much pressure on this team is one of my manifestations was to manifest new friends. I live in a country where I don't live with the people like my friends that I made through school and grew up with during it that must not be named that the whole world went through. I can see how I contributed to this, but again, it was a boundary thing and it was done from a place of like fear, uncertainty. I stopped being friends with essentially who I considered to be my best friend at the time. Unfortunately, that meant, and I was okay with it at the time, that meant everyone we had in common because my intention was, for me, when I don't want to be friends with anyone anymore, I don't replace positive energy with negative energy. I just remove my energy from that person. And that's what I did, which meant I wasn't going to bitch about her to our mutual friends to try and win them over or make them feel comfortable with being both of our friends. I was okay with the fact that it might mean that she would be dramatic as always and that they might not like that I don't give my side of the story. And if all they're hearing is one side of the story, I kind of get why they went the route that they did, but it essentially meant that because we had pretty much everyone in common as friends, they chose a side. And you know, I've been able to make some friends since then, but for a long time I used the touch team as my way of making friends. I put all the pressure on that because it seemed like the logical way to make friends, the logical link to my manifestation to make friends, which isn't, manifestation isn't logical, but I was putting the pressure on it because firstly, I got along with a lot of people there initially, but when I was doing it from a place of kind of desperation and fear of not having any people as friends on a subconscious level, it was backfiring left, right, and center. And because I was putting that pressure on it when it was seemingly going the opposite way, I was being very affected by it. had I moved away from it, I would have spent that time and energy around other people, probably unknowingly making friends, which is what eventually happened when I stepped back from touch. I realized that I had made a friend through work. When she left, she messaged me and was like, hey, I know we don't work together anymore, but I feel like I've told you things I haven't even told my closest friends. I feel like we've built a friendship here. It'd be a shame to like not continue hanging out and stuff. And I was like, yeah, of course. And that was around the time that I moved away from the touch team and stopped putting the touch team, putting the pressure on the touch team as my way of making friends. So before I stepped away from the team, I did end up getting to the point of breaking down with one of the players who I was getting a lift with because she lives near me. And thankfully, she was just like so good about it. She wasn't like, oh, well, he seems like a nice guy. Like, she was like, I'm so sorry that's been your experience. That sounds awful. And, I'm still in touch with a couple of people on the team. Not many people know, though, why I'm not playing at the moment. Yeah, it was just a really awful experience. But before that, he had made a comment to me on the field once that a ref had already made a call on, and I did sort of like snap, but I was okay with it because, again, I understood. Like, I didn't care about the result of that. I'd gotten to the point where I was like, I don't even care if none of these people like me. I'm just here to play touch. But then I was just too exhausted to play touch. But he made a comment at me that a ref had already made a call on, and I said, I'll listen to the ref, thanks, or something like that. I don't even remember what I said. But like, he took a step back and he stopped making comments pretty quickly after that. And then he tried to like butter me up again by like talking nicely to me, and I was just like not having it. No, because that's where you need to reinforce your boundaries. You can't just create a boundary and then not reinforce them. Boundaries are not for the other person, they're for you. And if I had like been like, oh, he's being nice to me now, so like I'll just talk to him, like be a nice person back, it would have just kept going in the cycle that it had been going, because I had manifested him being nicer to me at times. But I couldn't maintain it because I was coming from a place of fear. And the story that I had seen play out with him for so long, which was in my face twice a week, every week for 4 years, was so reinforced that it was just like, I'd probably have an easier time now changing him in my mind, but I don't care to. Like, it's the situation's so far gone that I'm like, I don't even want to play on the same team as you, let alone be friends with you or be nice to you or anything like that. And I'm still going to get what I want. Fuck you. And there was like an event that I went to after I'd stopped playing regular social touch, where we had like a tournament amongst the teams that I was on, where he knew better than to come anywhere near me. He's not going to fuck with me anymore because I am not going to be his source of energy anymore. So the whole point of all of that was, oh my God, I hope I can edit this down to be a lot shorter, because I always get on here and I'm like, yeah, this is easy. This is going to take no more than 10 minutes to explain. And then I go off my tangents and have my story times, which I do think are helpful. Yeah, a narcissist is only going to stop being like a narcissist to you if you're the person that they no longer get their narcissistic supply from. And that comes down to what you tolerate. And again, you don't want to be like, you can step away from the person completely, or you can set boundaries in the physical world, as long as you're okay with whatever the result is of that happening and you're not doing it from a neurotic place, but from a cool, calm, collected, neutral place. And just being okay with whatever happens. Like, if they never want to have anything to do with you again, you have to be okay with the idea of that, right? All the possibilities exist, but the fact of the matter is, if you're doing it from these places, they usually come back. Why you would want them in your life, regardless of whether it's a family member, like friend, professional relationship, or romantic relationship, why you would want them in your life after how they've treated you in the past, I don't know. But they will often come back. And as long as you remain the version of you that a narcissist can't be narcissistic towards, as in you don't allow that behavior, that will not be your experience. So if you have any questions, or you'd like me to elaborate further in a future video on this, because I know I did go off on a lot of tangents, let me know in the comments, and I'm happy to make more videos on this. But I hope that information was helpful. You're a fucking legend, don't you ever forget it. If you'd like to, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps me help you and many other people on a free platform. That'd be appreciated. Until next time, have a good one. What's this video on again? It's really hot.